The drama surrounding the WNBA took a dark turn when Sophie Cunningham, one half of the famed blonde Bombers, went down with what looked like a devastating knee injury. It wasn't just a random collision, not just a case of bad luck. It was Bria Hartley again, at the center of chaos, and this time Sophie's sister and mother weren't about to stay quiet. Their fury lit a fire that now stretches far beyond one game, one foul, or one injury. It has forced fans and players alike to confront the uncomfortable truth about the league. The officiating is broken. Reckless play is being allowed to thrive. And the very stars driving the WNBA forward, Sophie Cunningham, Caitlin Clark, and so many others, are being left unprotected. The moment itself was sickening to watch. Sophie had been locked in, battling hard, when Hartley came barreling through. What should have been an ordinary drive turned into something far uglier. Hartley lost balance, extended her fall, and plowed directly into Sophie's leg. Cameras caught it clearly. Her knee bent awkwardly, her hands immediately grabbing at her patella, the pain etched across her face. It wasn't just Sophie's. Season flashing before her eyes. For fans, it was déjà vu. Yet another star player down, yet another injury that could have been avoided. Yet another example of how dangerous the WNBA has become when the referees refused to take control, and, when Sophie fell, her family rose. Lexie Cunningham, her sister, didn't mince words. She unleashed on the league in a scathing statement, pointing directly at the officials. At WNBA, she wrote, "Maybe you should focus less on finding players for commenting on your poor officiating and more on hiring officials capable of calling a consistent game and protecting your athletes." Pathetic. Those weren't the words of a bitter sibling. They were the words of someone watching a loved one's career being put at risk because the league couldn't enforce its own rules. Then came Sophie's mother, Paula Cunningham. If Lexie was sharp, Paula was blunt. She torched Hartley, calling her disgruntled, reckless, and flat-out dangerous. Paula accused her of targeting knees, the one injury that can end a player's career in a heartbeat. Her words carried the weight of someone who has seen this pattern before. Hartley wasn't just unlucky, she insisted. She was mean, out of control, a player who enjoyed physical chaos and left destruction everywhere she went. And here's the truth. Paula isn't alone in that opinion. Around the league, Hartley's reputation is no secret. She has been ejected multiple times, accused of reckless fouls that go far beyond physical play. It constantly seems to be at the scene of the crime whenever a player goes down. Commentators themselves admitted that if this play had come from anyone else, fans might have brushed it off as an accident. But with Hartley, the history speaks louder than any slow-motion replay ever could. The frustration, though, isn't just about Hartley. It's about the referees. Over and over again this season, games have spiraled out of control, with players shoving, scrapping, and committing reckless fouls that would never fly in the NBA. Sophie's game was no different. Even before her injury, the officiating was already a mess. Missed calls piled up. Sophie herself was shoved to the floor earlier in the game with no whistle, sparking unnecessary scuffles that only grew worse. By the time Hartley dove into her knee, the stage had already been set for disaster. You must protect yourself at all times in the WNBA. One fan muttered bitterly after the game, and that's the reality players are facing. Cheap shots. Undercuts, knees rolled up on drive sits, becoming part of the culture. Not because the players want it, but because the referees allow it. Every night, athletes step onto the court knowing that not even the league's brightest stars are safe, and that's where this story takes an even bigger turn, because Sophie Cunningham's injury and her family's outrage connect directly to Caitlin Clark. For weeks, for months even. Clark has been the target of cheap shots, hard fouls, and reckless challenges. From DeJohnny Carrington's infamous hit to Marina Mabrey's repeated shoves, to countless opponents using physicality as the only way to slow her down, Caitlin has been through the fire. And just like Sophie, she's been left unprotected by officials who seem unwilling or unable to draw a line. The difference, of course, is that Caitlin Clark isn't just any player. She's the face of the WNBA, the rookie who's selling out arenas, shattering viewership records, and bringing in a wave of fans the league has never seen before. Her every move is under a microscope, her every game a headline. And yet, despite that, she too has been left to fend for herself in an environment where reckless play is treated as just part of the game. Sophie's own words about Clark now ring louder than ever. In a recent interview, she praised Caitlin's work ethic, her leadership, her perfectionist drive. Sophie called her the future of the league. She wasn't exaggerating. Clark has been carrying the WNBA into a new era at just 22 years old, the entire sports world watching her every step. But with all that pressure comes a terrifying question. How long can she keep doing it if the league won't protect her? Here's the most telling part through it all. Caitlin Clark has remained calm. She's taken the hits, brushed off the cheap fouls, and never once retaliated with dirty play of her own. Even after watching teammates like Sophie Cunningham crumble in pain, she has refused to be baited into the same chaos. Her response has always been the same: professionalism, focus, and an unshakable commitment to the game. That's why her teammates rally around her. That's why her coach, Steph White, constantly emphasizes that Clark's long-term health matters more than rushing her back. And that's why fans, even those who don't root for Indiana, respect her. Still, there's a deeper issue here, one that won't go away with time. Because as long as the WNBA allows reckless play to define games, as long as officials let emotions spill over into violence, then players like Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Clark will always be at risk. The league cannot claim to be building for the future while failing to protect its future. When Sophie went down, it wasn't just her family crying out for change. It was fans across the country. It was players shaking their heads, saying enough is enough. And it was the reminder that this isn't about one foul, one injury, or one player's reputation. It's about whether the WNBA is willing to evolve into a professional league where stars are safeguarded, where officiating is respected, where the game itself, not reckless chaos, decides the outcome. Because in the end, fans don't tune in to watch Sophie Cunningham carried off the court. They don't buy tickets to see Caitlin Clark shoved to the floor. They don't cheer for scuffles and ejections. They tune in for greatness, for the skill, the drama, the intensity of basketball at its highest level. And right now, nobody represents that greatness more than Caitlin Clark. Sophie Cunningham's injury is more than just another chapter in the WNBA season. It's a warning that stars are being put at risk, that families are being forced to speak out, and that the league is playing a dangerous game with its own future. And if the WNBA doesn't act now, if it doesn't start protecting its players, then the brightest light at his Caitlin Clark could find herself dimmed before she ever truly reaches her peak. This story isn't over. Not for Sophie, not for Caitlin. It's not for the WNBA. But what happens next will define everything. And that's the question left hanging over the league. Will it keep allowing reckless chaos to define its narrative, or will it finally step up and protect the very stars who make it worth watching? So now I want to hear from you. Was Bria Hartley's hit on Sophie Cunningham just reckless bad luck, or was it something more? And do you think the WNBA is doing enough to protect Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, and its other stars from these dangerous plays? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you want to keep up with the stories shaping the WNBA's future, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join the conversation, because this drama is only just beginning.